Hi everyone, welcome back to Astroways. Last episode we learned about ears, which represents the early 14 years of our age. Now one thing you have to remember, when I said each feature represents a certain age range of your life, it doesn't mean that it only affects you on that age. It affects you all your life, but you especially feel it when it comes to that age. Here's an example. This episode we're going to talk about our forehead. Forehead is located on top of our head, which represents age 15 to 30 of our life. People with good foreheads would tend to have a smooth childhood and good family support. And forehead also represents your mind, your intelligence, and that not only affects the first 30 years of your life, it's a lifetime. So as your ears. Ears represents health. A good health benefits a lifetime. Okay, let's come back to forehead. Actually, we mentioned about forehead in face shape episode. We mentioned about if we look at a person on the side face, the difference between having your forehead goes in or out. Now, I won't repeat that. If you want to remind yourself, please go back to check episode 2, face shapes and 5 elements. Okay, now let's first take a look at the varieties of forehead shapes we can get when we look at a person on the front. We're going to do this in pairs. First, high forehead versus low forehead. As I mentioned in the early episodes, forehead represents our mind and intelligence. High forehead people are good at learning and analyzing. They have strong ability to think. They're curious and they're very good at taking opportunities in life. While low forehead is the opposite, especially if your forehead is lower than the thickness of 3 of our fingers. Also, if it's not filled and full of wrinkles, then it means this person is not very good at making decisions, not very intelligent, and can be quite stubborn. However, it can be better if it's at least smooth and full. Next one is wide forehead versus narrow forehead. Wide forehead people have a big wide heart. They're very reasonable and understanding. They have an open mind. These people are very friendly with everyone, but sometimes they are quite easy to trust and fall for others. While people with narrow forehead tend to be narrow-hearted people as well. They can be quite mean sometimes. Also because their hair covers up the 2 very important areas of our forehead called sun and moon corner. Sun and moon corner, they represent our parents. The left one is the sun corner, represents father, and the right one is the moon corner, represents mother. If these 2 corners are open up and no hair covering them, and they're smooth and full, it represents our parents are healthy and in good condition. They can provide for us and give us good education when we were younger. If you have one corner obviously bigger than the other, that means your parents are quite different in terms of health condition or the influence to you when you were younger. In general, you find people with low and narrow forehead tend to struggle a lot during their early age of life comparing to the ones with high and wide forehead. They struggle more to make the right decision and they struggle more to let go of things. Some people choose to shave and remove some of the hair to make their forehead look better. That's also something we can do to improve our life. Think about it. You don't really see any of the world's most successful people or billionaires have narrow and low hairline, right? They're all quite bald and smooth. Next one, we have rounded forehead versus square forehead. Rounded forehead people tend to be very nice people, quite sweet and easygoing. Don't usually say no to others. While square forehead people tend to be strong-minded, determined, and they're not easy to compromise. Both types are good as long as the forehead looks clean and smooth. Next one, we have 3 special cases. First one is the big M forehead. A lot of people have this type of forehead, especially guys. The M-shaped forehead exposes another 2 very important areas, which is the house of travel and foreign affairs. People with M-shaped foreheads sometimes they find themselves can achieve more and be more successful when they travel abroad or away from their birthplace, and they're quite easy to adapt to new environments than others. Next special case is V-shaped forehead, also called the widow's peak. Some people may get confused between M-shape and V-shape. M-shape shows the house of travel and V-shape doesn't. M-shape sometimes they don't necessarily have the widow's peak. They can be flat, while V-shape they have to have this peak. The reason why in the Western world it's called the widow's peak is because they believe girls with this peak tend to live longer than the husband. Interesting enough, in China, we call it the beauty tip. That's because in ancient China, one of the criteria of being classed as beautiful is having this tip. And people wanted girls with this tip to be their wives. Some metaphysicians say girls with this tip doesn't tend to have a good relationship with their dad and tend to start dating guys in an early age. Personally, from my experience, I don't think I agree with this theory. Why? Because I have this tip. And I can tell you, my parents and I are very close, and I never dated anyone until the age of 20. Of course, talking about parents, we still have to see the condition of the sun and moon corner. And in terms of relationships, there are more features we need to look at. We can't look at one feature and come up with the conclusion. But what I'm trying to say is the best way to learn metaphysics is not from books and theories, it's from experience. You can't believe in something without practicing a lot of cases and prove that theory. However, the actual meaning of this tip is people with this tip tend to leave home in an early age, either for education or work reason, because in the old age there was no such a thing as studying abroad or work away. Even going to the next town seemed like a massive thing. But nowadays it's different. People leave their birthplace for a lot of reasons. So when we do face reading, when we hear the words like harms, hurts, it does harm to your family, it does harm to your relationship, it hurts your children, etc. You need to consider the possibility of leaving instead of harm. Okay, the last special case, curved hairline or uneven hairline. People with this type of hairline is exactly what the hairline looks like, unorganized and emotionally unstable. And most of the time, they can't seem to focus on one thing only. And usually they come across more problems dealing with relationships and families and friends. Also because right next to the sun and moon corner on each side, there's the house of blessing. It represents benefits from effort, wish fulfillment, and support. This type of hairline, usually you find the hair covers up this house. Especially if your forehead is too hairy and the hairline joins the eyebrows, then we recommend you to remove the small hair and leave a bit of a distance here. And if you have loads of small hairs all over your hairline, usually newborn babies would have it, but later on the hair will fall off. But if you're over 18 years old and you still have it, and it's not likely it's going to go away, then we say you're likely to struggle more in relationship life than other people. Okay, I think we've covered most of the hairline types, but I'm not done with the forehead. Besides the sun and moon corner, the house of travel and foreign affairs, the house of blessing, there are in total 16 areas on our forehead that represents our age from 15 to 30. I'm not going to talk about every single one. Even if I did, you won't remember all the names and the video will be too boring. So I'd rather use examples out of real people's forehead. But even though we're not focusing on the houses one by one, still there are two very important houses that we have to mention before closing this video. First one is the middle part of our forehead. It's called the house of enterprise. It represents ambitions, good career, achievements in life, and authority. If this area is nice and filled, that means you tend to be luckier and achieve what you want easier than others. The second one, which is the most important area in our whole face, in Chinese we call it yinyang, is the house of self. House of self is the first house in astrology. You see how important it is. This tiny little area not only determines the main luck of our lives, but also is the key transition point and the turning point between your early 30 years and after 30s. There's so many things to talk about this yinyang. The color of it, the shape of it, the texture of it. Is it covered with hair? Is it covered with wrinkles? What type of wrinkles? We're going to save it to the next episode. So remember the word yinyang. Take a look at your yinyang in the mirror and wait for our next episode. Now we're talking about wrinkles. Together in the next episode, let's also talk about the meaning of different types of wrinkles on our forehead. There's just too much to talk about, and we can't finish it on this one episode, so please stay with me. Okay guys, that's all for today. If you want to have your personal face reading with me, you can email me at astroways.info@gmail.com or find me on Facebook at Astroways. If you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to know more about metaphysics, please subscribe my channel and I'll keep you updated.